What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. It is great to be back with you again this week. Super excited to talk to another member of the Flipped Lifestyle community. I got my friend Chris Grainger on the program today. Chris, welcome.
How you doing, Shane? Good to be here, sir.
You have the best background. If anyone listens to this podcast, you need to go to the YouTube channel and you need to check this out because you got this lion and it's your lion within, and it looks like the lion's claws have cut the W into the thing. Did you like commission that? Did you make that? Like, who made that incredible podcast background for you?
It's pretty awesome, right? Yes, it's my partner, man, who I work with. His name's Adam, and he did all the graphics, all the designs, and he actually built. So we redid the whole studio because I used to have a green screen, and so day after Thanksgiving, gutted the studio, painted everything, and then he came over with his wife. He's like, "All right, you don't get to come in." So it was one of those like HDTV moments where I get to walk in and he built everything.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
But it was pretty cool, man.
That's
for sure.
Really cool, man. It looks fantastic. Everybody needs to go and look at that real quick. But we're here to celebrate, man, because, man, you've started this thing. You've launched an online business. You got 40 members in your community, man. That's absolutely incredible. Let's go back a little bit and tell everybody about you, your background, and maybe what you were doing like before you found Flip Lifestyle and all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have an engineering background. Went electrical engineering and been into the industrial distribution my whole life. So been working in that industry for 20 years. And then a lot of things changed in that industry. And I actually took the idea of starting a podcast to that company in 2020, right at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. As an engineer, I was like, I want to start a podcast, and I think I can help our company, have a bigger voice and be an influencer and things like that. And they looked at me like I had three heads, and they're like, what do you mean a podcast? So I had to explain all that, and then they let me do it. And we recorded the first episode in February 2020, and then literally March 2020, you know what happened, right? So it was God's timing. So I brought everything to my house. I built a home studio, and that was the perfect time to start a podcast because you could get any guest you wanted. Because for March 2020 on, like nobody
had anything to do. We were all stuck at home, man.
We were stuck at home. So I was talking to CEOs. I mean, it was crazy, the types of guests, and we built this really cool, really niche type podcast for that company, and it's still going. 250 plus episodes out there now. And it gave me an opportunity to learn about podcasting. And then 2021, God just laid it on my heart. He's like, all right, now you're going to use it for me. And I was like, okay, let's go. Let's do this. And then it got even funnier because he says, I want you to do something that serves Christian men. And why that's funny is because at the time I lived in a house with a wife and three daughters. And I'm surrounded by estrogen, and he's like, "Go lead men." I'm like, "Got it. Whatever you tell me."
Maybe
man.
He was saying you need some friends. You need some male friends, bro. I'm gonna get you out of the house a little bit.
Apparently, man, he was saying something, but my wife, she just thought it was funny, so we just leaned into it. We kind of came up with the line within, together, she and I, and then so we started recording. In the end of 2021, we hit publish. We had like 3 months worth of content in the books. And now we stay about 3 to 6 months booked out for the show, drop 3 times a week. We've had guests from Duck Dynasty come on. We've had guests come on from my favorite church down south he's the pastor at Tim Tebow's church. Like, God has just opened doors I never knew existed. Right. And it's just like,
dude, it's funny, man. When you start creating content. And it's why, like, I just got finished writing my book, a book that we've got coming out. And it's like, I got a whole section about content and about how if you just start opening the door, like, even if you just talk by yourself for a little while, like, sooner or later, you're going to ask people and they're going to come on your show and you're going to be like, how in the world am I talking to this person? My first podcast ever was like a football coaching podcast. And I talked to the local 7th grade defensive coordinator because the head coach didn't have time to talk to me. That's where I started, y'all. And then by the 5th or 6th episode, I was reaching out on Twitter to people, these famous people with hundreds of thousands of followers, and they were saying yes, because it was a way to get their voice out there, man. It's just unbelievable. You'll never get the door to open until you start turning the knob. right?
This past weekend, Al from Duck Dynasty, he came up to speak at our church, and I have pictures with him in this studio here. And he got up in front of the church and said, guys, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the line within us and my relationship with Chris. And I almost passed out in the pew, right? I'm like, bro, I didn't need that type of spotlight, but it's just like, it's really cool once you lean in and do what he's telling you to do. So we started the podcast, and then I found you, and I think I found you through our mutual friend, Eric Wooten, for what he's doing at Altered Marriage, because Eric was a member. He came on the show.
For those who don't know who Eric is, Eric Wooten has an awesome website called Altered Marriage. He's a Flip Lifestyle community member. He built a membership, a coaching program through our program. And he's actually now, I don't know if you know this, but he's one of our coaches.
Yep.
Like he's actually one of our full-time coaches right here on staff. So he's running. It's funny. People come to me after we start online businesses and they're like, Shane, I'm only working like 4 hours a week. Can I hang out with you all for a little while? And then they end up coaching here. So that's how it works. But Eric's an amazing guy, man. Amazing guy.
He is. He's a super cool guy. So so I started, following your stuff, became a member, wanted to learn more about it. And then so we started our community actually around September of 2022. And we started pushing it out because the podcast downloads they're still on an exponential curve, and I give God all the glory there. So we're getting the listeners, and we needed somewhere to talk to them, because a podcast is like one to many, and I wanted to get more of it actually to be able to talk with people directly. And so we launched the community actually as a freemium model. And I just wanted to I needed to learn, Shane, just to see what I could figure out, what people like, what they don't like, get their feedback. And we built that thing up to like 150 members within, 90 days. But we noticed that there was a small segment that was highly engaged. So we started talking around November of, all right, we're going to flip this to a paywall, and guys, they got to have skin in the game, yada, yada, yada. So it took like 30, 45 days of a countdown, if you will. And we called it like our Founders Coalition, to build it up. And we converted 23% of those guys over directly into our paid model.
That's incredible.
And most of them actually went with the annual plan. They didn't even go with the monthly. And then we've added some members since, but the community element itself, man, I never knew how much work it'd be. Well,
maybe we can straighten that out, because there's ways to manage that. When you go at the beginning is weird, because you want to treat every single person like a one-on-one client in the beginning, especially for your first 100 members, because you're still learning,
Right.
But
right.
through management, there's a lot of ways we can serve people at a high. We have thousands of people that follow us now and are in our communities and our coaching programs and all these different places. And it takes some time to put together your systems for that. So that you're spending that 1 hour to serve many, but then you're connecting them together, and you've got other service in there. So when you, let me go back real quick on the price, because I think this is an interesting point. So what do you charge a month right now for the membership? The founding rate, that'd be a better answer, actually.
Yeah. I mean, the founding rate, we gave those guys a discount at $35 a month, but now it's $50. So it's $50 a month for current members. What
we have found for coaching people is when we see someone go, man, everybody took the annual plan, right? Especially at the founders rate, it's usually a sign your monthly prices are too low. Does that make sense? Because so that means there's more value than you think there is there, because so many people take that annual plan. If the annual plan was a little higher because the monthly was a little higher, then the annual plan is almost like your canary in the coal mine if your monthly price is right.
Right.
Because if people are taking the monthly, then your annual plan is high enough where they're like, well, I'll just do it monthly for now. But then you get retention after that point, which could be more than annual by the end of it. So,
that's where people are now. The ones that join now are doing the monthly. We're seeing
there. You go. So you're right at that $50 mark. So, all right. So tell me this. So when did you launch this? This was recent, correct?
Yeah, that was recent. So the paywall went up January 1st of 2023.
Nice. And we're in March right now for anybody who's pacing that. Dang, man, 40 members is just that quick, dude. That is overwhelming to get that many people,
Yeah.
Because the freemium model, you kind of can sit back a little bit, right? We're doing what we do. It's what we do.
Right.
They're lucky to have anything, But now people give you money and you're like, oh no, we have to do stuff, right? So, all right, so you get 40 members.
Yep.
What happened next? Like, what did you do? Like, what are they getting for that 50?
Yep.
45?
So what we started doing before in the freemium model, I offered a couple things. I offered Thursday night Bible study, and it's based off a Bible study that I wrote. So like almost like a year long, and it's very topical. So we get together Thursday nights. We did that. Then I started what I call lion lunches, and it really is every Wednesday at 1:00 Eastern. We go live. We have lunch together. And guys come, we break bread. We talk from anything from theology to tractors. I mean, it's all over.
This sounds like a Southern Baptist church,
bro.
Are you sure you didn't start a church? Because it sounds like my church when I grew up in, man.
No, man. I tell people very clear, we are not a church. We are a supplement. So
that's right. That's right.
Good supplement. But we're just across. The big thing that I found, Shane, is just the transparency. So we started that. Now, when we've actually, and then I started in the freemium model too. I started every morning between 8 and 8:30. I would go with one of our episodes each week is called a spiritual kickoff. And it's basically just me reading. That's our Monday episode. And it's basically scripture for the week, 1 or 2 verses. And then I unpack it based off of what I've learned. Now, I've never gone to seminary, anything like that. I'm just a good old boy from North Carolina who loves God's word. And I just like to share with you what I learned and what it's revealed to me. And people eat that podcast up. We get as much downloads as the spiritual kickoff as we do our interviews. Wow. So now I took it and said, okay, we're just going to let God do the heavy lifting. Every morning I go and I read God's word and I just tell the guys what it's
you means do that to me. In the community,
within the community, right?
Okay.
And that's
so the spiritual kickoff is on Monday, and that's kind of public.
That's the public,
but the members get that every day.
They get it every morning. That's cool. Right. And the guys are showing up, and we have 40 members, and we average 10 guys that show up to that every day.
Are you doing that live every day? You're doing that live?
Oh, do it live every morning. And so I'll tell you what our strategy is on that. And maybe you can tell me that's a good idea because what we're thinking about doing. But so we do that. That's one option. Every day they get that. We do a dad camp. So we just finished that up. I have a partner we worked with on that. So we had that going. And then Wednesdays, like I said, we have our lion lunches. Thursdays, we have our Bible study. And then Saturday morning, I have a moderator-led Bible study as well. So I don't show up to that one. And then we started 2 mastermind groups, and those are the powerful meetings. And I'm actually engineering myself out of those meetings too.
You charge for those, or are they included?
Right now, they're included because I'm still learning. But I think that's going to be an upsell as we move forward because there's a lot of power in that. But I'm basically building the process and the procedures to get these meetings flowing. Then I'll be engineering myself out of them, so these guys can roll. But
what was the Thursday again?
Thursday's the Bible study on Thursday nights.
That's at night.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you've got the lion lunch on Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
And then somebody else is doing the Saturday morning, right?
Saturday, we have a moderator-led Bible study that these guys show up to on Saturdays too. So it's pretty much something every day of the week outside of Sunday that they have an option.
Because they're going to church on Sunday. That's the goal, I guess.
That's right.
They're in their local place. Now, what are you doing outside of that? Now, I can see. Okay, so this is a good structure. I mean, how long is the scripture thing in the morning? How long?
They usually average 20 to 30 minutes in the morning.
Okay, so really, the workload of actual being in the community is just Monday through Friday. You get up for 30 minutes, and then you got the lunch and the Bible study. I mean, that's pretty much like what's going on there. Where's the other time and work coming from? Is it just keeping up with all the members, talking to them outside of these times? Because you said a minute ago, man, I didn't know how much work it's going to be. But I'm looking here going, okay, it's like 30 minutes a day plus an hour on Wednesday and an hour on Thursday. So tell me more about the workload.
Yeah. Well, also, I forgot, we do a monthly challenge. So each month I'm creating a challenge. It's usually as a daily type thing that we put together. So the workload also comes with a lot of the social aspects within the community, making the posts and getting everything staged up and scheduled out so that these guys, when they sign up for something and they're part of something, it's not just some cheesy thing like, hey, we need to do so. Like this month, we're calling our March Madness push-pull challenge. And it's all around push-ups and pull-ups to get strong and do the work that God called us to do. And you could do it very cheesy or you could do it cool. And we want to do it cool. So we made some really nice logos. We have Google Sheets, very interactive. We create these teams, and it just takes a lot of time just to manage that piece, right?
Yeah. So you're doing all the work on logos, all the work on design, all you guys are building it yourself, keeping up with the data, keeping up with the accountability, doing all those things for these challenges. How long are the challenges? Oh, so the challenge is like a whole month long then.
Yeah,
so it's taking up a lot of the time.
February was a 2-week challenge because that was a spiritual intimacy challenge that led up to Valentine's Day. But they typically we're designing them typically to be a month long to keep guys engaged because you want to keep coming back and plugging into the app and going there.
All right. And then on top of that, your marketing is basically the podcast. Is that basically what it is?
Pretty much the marketing is 100% podcast. We don't have any paid ads anywhere or anything like that.
That's fine. Nothing wrong with that at all, man. How are you growing your list?
We have a lead magnet on the website. It's 10 scriptures to fight like a lion. That gets a fair amount of attention. So that's pretty much that. We do have one more lead magnet around 9 habits you need to have, but the big one that most people go to are the 10 scriptures, and that's where I'm leaning into next because I'm actually designing a lead magnet around like a Christian leader assessment, something where maybe you want to take a quiz or something.
Yeah, we just made it. That's been very successful for us. We switched to a quiz, especially for our live events. Mm-hmm. And, it's anytime I put it in front, it's got like a 90% take rate of anyone that sees it. It's a quiz to show you to help you start, what should you create first? Should you start with courses, build coaching, communities, whatever it is?
Right.
Fantastic. People love quizzes, man. It's like a very powerful thing. You can build them really quick too with certain tools. They're not hard to build at all. And we actually built ours though. We took the Myers-Briggs personality assessment and we completely based it on that so that we could be we kind of deconstructed that data and said, well, if someone was introverted, what kind of business would they probably want? Right. And we started asking our people, so we did surveys of our people and we talked to our members and we found out that a lot of our more introverted people were course creators. Right. And then of course the extroverted people were I want a community of as many people as possible, and there was people in between, of course, and had different reasons for Jocelyn was an introvert, but she started a community because the community could talk to each other and not her.
Right.
Right. So, but the quiz it's super powerful, man. Okay. Let me break down some stuff real quick, just that I'm observing. And then maybe we can just go back and forth with some questions. Okay.
Okay.
The monthly challenge is definitely the part that's overwhelming. Okay. So I think that I would more say, but I love what you're doing. I don't think I would change anything because this thing's going to grow and have great retention really well because you're doing so much for your people, However, there is a point where, it's going to get tedious to do a lot of this stuff,
Yes.
Especially as the influencer. You are the influencer. You're the podcaster. You're the guy doing the stuff out in the world. You're the leader of the organization. So you need to be out front and lead and do those things. But it's almost you roll up your sleeves now so you can pull them down later, right?
Yeah.
When you get to a certain point, we could easily figure the math out. I mean, maybe it's 200 members, something like that. I think if you put all your effort into growing to 200 members as fast as possible, you have enough money just to hire an assistant that can deal with all this, or maybe even a virtual assistant. When you get to that 50 member mark, that range, you can start setting really good goals based on who you need to hire and things like that. So that will go away. That will go away as soon as you can hire someone to do that. And if it's just spreadsheets and keeping up with things and sending emails and stuff, that might even, I don't always recommend virtual assistants, but virtual assistants are really good for that kind of stuff, like reporting, spreadsheeting, Google Sheets, data, just a nitpicky stuff, because you can go out and buy a VA and get $500 to $1,000. You're going to get solid hours out of them to be able to get them to do all the things you're not doing. That just takes you immediately down to recording podcasts and doing your morning stuff, Right. Do you think those morning things have to be live? And also, do they have to be you? That would be my second question.
I don't know if they would have to be live. I think the guy, particularly what I've seen so far, the guys really enjoy that. And because there's a chat feature too. So they're dropping in notes and things like that as I'm going. And, I'll call them out. I always go through and call out the guys that are there. So far as me, I do think for now, it does need to be me because there's still, some of these guys are new, they're listening to the podcast, they're hearing me and they're checking me, right? They want to see, hey, is Chris really aligning to what I'm hearing on the show? So it's a way for me to be vulnerable. And for me, I just love it because I get my time with the word in every day and it challenges me to be a little bit sharper, to be able to have those conversations. So, I like the live part. Now we do repost them. So it'll finish up the live, then we repost those into the main feed of the community. So, because we know not everybody can jump on a live, right? Because I'm all over. I'm never consistent with the time. Sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 8:15, sometimes it's 8:30. It's usually in that half hour range, but it's not like you can guarantee this time. I try to get a little flexibility.
I would try to be, if you could set that time, that'd be better. And I'll tell you this is weird. There's a weird paradox that happens in this situation. And I wish I could go back and change it in Flip Lifestyle, is accessibility to the founder. It's a weird thing, man. I used to do like all kinds of Q&As, all kinds of crazy stuff. And it burnt me out. It really did. It burnt me out after a while, even though it was good. And even though they were fun, and even though it was helping people and all these things were happening, it was all fine, but it burnt me out and it burnt my community out. And I noticed that when we got other voices into the mix, right? Even if it's just your members, I'm not saying like hire anybody or have another partner or anything like that. Retention went up, attendance went up. And there was like, it was more novel. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So like if you were like even Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you had like Saturday is somebody else, that's fine. Tuesday, Thursday could be somebody else. It creates a little more excitement when you're there. It's all fine now, 2 months in, but what happens 12 months in? Are they still going to want to hear your voice every morning? You know what I'm saying? Sure. And I think, man, I really do. I think it was better for the community. The more I stepped back, it was better for the community because so many other voices emerged. So many other leaders emerged. My people that I eventually hired, that you will eventually hire, are just as smart as me. And they're out there doing stuff. And there's this one guy named Paul that does a call on our community like every Tuesday for Kajabi. And he just talks to people about Kajabi, and he's better at, I don't know anything about Kajabi. I know how to use it, but I don't know how to do the things that he does with it. Right. It allowed space for more community growth. And I think that's a mistake that we make as founders, that, it's my podcast. They want to hear my voice. Really, they want the result. You know what I'm saying? Like they're getting the spiritual connection with other men in this Bible study, right? Mm-hmm. They're getting the word early in the day. They're saying the same thing you do. Man, I get my Bible study in the morning. But if you could open that a little bit, it's kind of like when the guest pastor comes to church. It's like, I'm listening better today because that's not the same dude, So maybe you could get ahead of that a little bit. And hey, I bet you've already got leaders emerging in your community. You could say, hey, man, who would like to lead a Bible study on Tuesday? Now you have to vet them,
Right.
Our Bible study is led by my brother. So like, you got to know who they are. You don't know what they're going to say up there. If they start having picket signs and stuff like that, you got problems. But like, we got to make sure who it is. I would definitely look at that now because you can control that now.
Yeah.
Right. And test it to give yourself a little more mental space on those days. Even if you're there, if you're not the one doing it, it's a different vibe, You still host it. And then start right now writing down like, what is stressing me out? This is going to grow. We can see that. Maybe I need to look at getting a VA. Maybe the next 20 members will pay for a VA or something like that. Right. And that way, when you go into the challenge in April or May or June, you've got some help. And now it's immediately off of you. And you can focus on marketing, which is the most important thing. Where do you feel stuck? What other questions do you have right now? Because you're doing great. I mean, you're kicking butt. There's a lot of people out there going, I would kill Chris to have 40 members right now. What is going on over there? How do we grow this thing? Like, but what are you doing now? Like, what are your questions now? And like, how do you plan to grow this thing?
Yeah, I mean, right now I feel stuck in a lot of admin where, it's cool. There's a lot, as you know, for me, there's a lot of pre-work going into a podcast. When the mic's hot, that's the fun part. But then when the mic after that, it's like all the writing the show notes and making the assets for social media and doing the social media, which I absolutely can't stand. That's just not who I am, but I know we need to do it to do the reach. So all that stuff is what, it takes time. You need to write good show notes because they need to have good SEO. And I mean, all the reasons why you do that. Plus you want to serve the guest the right way. So that's a big one. And then just growing, like just having the right lead magnets to build that email list out so that we can start actually nurturing them and doing that the right way. Cause we're just right now we get, maybe 3 to 5 a week, but it's not, we got to ramp this thing up if we want to get these guys in here. So I'm trying to do that. And then on top of that, speaking engagements, we got our first speaking engagement coming up. So we're trying to figure that whole world out. So it's just a lot trying to figure out where to spend the time to get the biggest impact.
It's such a chicken and an egg thing at all stages of entrepreneurship because, like, you know, every level is going to have those same admin challenges. You know, just when I outsource one thing, I find like 50 other tasks I really need to get off my plate. It's the craziest thing, man, when you lead like an organization, and yours is clearly poised to go. Do you have your opt-in on your podcast? Are you telling people to go to your site on your podcast for the opt-in?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right. So we got all the funnel stuff sounds great, but what you're going to have to do is grow to 200 members and hire people. Like that's probably my best advice for you right now is roll up your sleeves. And like right now we've got to do whatever we can do to get to 200 members. Now, guesting is a great way to do that. Like it's not just your podcast growth. It's getting out on other people's podcasts. That's a really important strategy. I have a goal, even to this day, 2 a week. I want to be averaging 2 a week every month so that I know that I'm spending 2 hours every week in front of other people's audiences. Yeah. So that's a really good goal. And you can do that reaching out to people, do guest swaps if you need to right now. Yep. And also even, you know, there's PR agencies, but they cost money. You know, that's big swaps with your audience. You could probably get some people to swap really easily with your audience.
I've actually got about 25 swaps, and that's a goal of mine too. I'm the same way. I'm trying to get on as many shows as possible.
And then ramping up sales, man. Like it's crazy, man, but there's, you know, sometimes you just got to go straight prolific. And that means like every week you're going to have some kind of webinar that sells your membership. Every month you're going to have some kind of challenge just for a while. You don't have to do that all the time, but it's like you know, like you said, getting those 3 to 5 members a week. Live events in the first year after you get members are just critical because you actually are there to sell it and you can get 10. And it's like, it's crazy, but just doing that free training every week to your list, marketing, it gives you something to talk about. Like Monday, your podcast comes out. So you send an email to your list. You say, hey, listen to my podcast. Tuesday, it's like, hey, we uploaded the video. Wednesday, we're having a thing tomorrow. Thursday, we're having a thing. Friday, cart's going to close. Do it again next week. Like that's the best strategy I've ever seen, especially when you start getting audience and when you start getting that email list, is to go prolific. Like I would be emailing your list every day, something every single day, even if it's just a 5-minute email of, hey, what are you struggling with today? Reply back. Hey, here's my latest podcast. Here's a link. Hey, follow me on Twitter, whatever it is. With all this stuff you got 3 times a week that you can promote, bro. You know, how often do you email your list right now?
Right now it's twice a week. We do the Monday spiritual kickoff, and then we send them an email on the Wednesday about the main episode for the week.
You need to be doing daily emailing Monday through Friday. Daily emailing. It won't affect your unsubscribes. I'm telling you, your people will love it. I think I sent 500,000 emails last week or something like that. It was crazy how many emails we sent last week. But our unsubscribes don't ever go up really. Nothing ever happens because, you know, 3 out of 5 of my emails are all value, and the other 2 are inviting them to a free training or a free challenge, right? It's all good stuff on the other side of the email open and the click every time they click something. You know, we're getting ready to do a YouTube strategy. I'm going to be emailing like every Friday. They're going to be getting a link to my YouTube channel. It's got to be centered around, and maybe not every week at first, maybe every other week. Like one week's all value, the next week is a webinar. But you've got to get in front of people live. Don't try evergreen. Don't try any of that stuff right now. Get 50 people, like that free group, for example. You said, you know, you did this big thing. How did you open that? Did you go live with that, or did you just do emails for the beta launch? How did you get that 20-something% to join? Was it just like a big hype thing? Did you go live? Did you do a webinar? What'd you do?
I didn't do any webinars, but it was every day. Every day I was in the community, just talking. And basically I had a countdown.
I got you.
Like a
counter. So you just went live in this Facebook group or something, or what'd you do?
I went live inside. We built it in within Mighty Network, so I'd go live there every day. But then I also had I was emailing that list every day.
Success leaves clues, right? Like that worked. Then it will keep working because as you put new leads in, they've never been through the process, right. And then it's like, we're going to get to 200 members before X months. It's like, we're just going to do it. If it takes us 2 webinars a month, if it takes us special promotions, free trials, whatever it is, to create the revenue to get the admin off of you. That's your next mission. That's what I would tell you to do right now is get a daily email schedule. Monday through Friday is fine. I leave Saturdays and Sundays open, but we will often send stuff out. It's more like, what did we forget to send them? this week. And we use Saturday and Sunday for that. And then I would at least twice a month right now, maybe ramp up so you can get your systems down. Like this month do one, but it's free training, something free. Maybe you go over those 10, what was that lead magnet you did?
Yeah. 10 scriptures to fight like a lion. Yeah.
Do 10 scriptures to fight like a lion. Just do a free training, go over the scriptures, tell them, and then show them, how important it is. Hey guys, wasn't it amazing being here? Imagine if we were breaking bread at lunch. Wasn't it awesome being with a group of guys doing a Bible study? Hey, man, wouldn't it be good if you had some scripture every morning, just like you had tonight? Well, here you go. Try this 30 days for free.
Yeah.
And throw them a free trial. Don't you just sell a free trial? Who cares at first? We're just trying to flood members in as fast as we can.
Yes, sir.
Do you have upsells right now? Do you have anything upselling? Like if I join your membership, do I just go to a thank you page? Is there anything?
Yeah. So right now we do a 30-day free trial with the membership, and then it kicks in. But what we're thinking about was I'd love to get your feedback on this. So that daily spiritual kickoff that we do every morning going live. So we have recordings back through November right now. We're going back through those, and we're thinking about a lower tier model, maybe like less than $10 a month. So it gets you in our membership to where you just get those, because our spiritual kickoffs perform really well on the podcast. And then that will be a way for us to try to upsell them to the full community. Basically it's just us stripping putting a bumper on the front and the back, stripping out the admin stuff that I talk about and just give them that scripture. And once they,
I don't like tiers. And I, especially like for your first 500 members, like sell one thing. What I would do with that is I would take all those backlogs and I would have them, they can come daily. I would take the backlogs and I'd put them into something and I would say, hey, for, $99 or something, or $97 or $47, something, I would have an actual upsell. That's like, you can get access to all the backlog of those, or get over 150 scriptures or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Videos.
Yeah.
And I would just add that to their product library, one-time fee, because what you do is the upsells fuel ad drive. Like you could whatever. So say someone gets a free trial, and let's say 100 people take a free trial. Maybe 20 of them buy that $50 thing. That's $1,000 you can now spend on ad spend to get more leads, which gets more free trials, which gets more upsells, which gives you another ad budget. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We call it, it creates a little machine of some money. Like, for example, I have affiliate launches. And so people send traffic to my webinars and challenges, right? The affiliates get part of the first sale. That's how I do it. So like if I sell a membership, you get part of that. If I sell a coaching package, you get part of that. But I do not do the upsell. That's not included in our affiliate product suite. So what I do is the upsell, once people buy the money and the affiliate gets paid, on the backside, that can cover my affiliate cost, which is basically like covering ad spend, right? That's what an affiliate fee is. So so some kind of order bump like that, you've already got it. You might as well just put it into a little training area and or a Google folder or whatever it is, and give them access to that for X dollars, maybe. And what's a really good indicator of someone who's going to renew is make it the same price as the membership. Like if it's $49 for the membership, then, make that like 47, right? And be like, hey, for $47, you get this and you get to keep it forever. Okay.
Right.
So instead of doing like a $10 a month, you just got 5 months back of a $10 a month. So you got it up front, and then they've got the product, and you've got a good chance that that's a buyer. You can kind of count on, 25 of these paid for that. So surely they'll renew once they get into the community part of it. Okay?
Right.
But the upsell is really good, man. It'll help you with some ad spend. And especially if you're going to throw out there free trials and stuff like that. Now, you can also sell annual plans on the webinars. But, man, I like selling monthly memberships on those webinars and training. It's just such an easy pitch.
Yeah.
Cancel anytime. Try it for free for a month. Like, I mean, why would you say no? It doesn't make any sense. I think if you start doing those consistently, man, you'll start getting those people in. And I would go set yourself a goal for who you want to hire first. Figure out what it's going to cost you and say, how many members is that? And as soon as you get those members, hire it. Get some of the work off your plate. And then now get the next one for profit. This is impressive, bro. I'm going to tell you, man, you're striking while the iron is hot. The market and God have given you momentum. You're asking all the perfect questions, man. Hey, how has the community helped you? Like, how has Flipped Lifestyle helped you? How have we helped you do all this? You're an impressive guy, man. You're kicking butt out there, but you're like me. I know you're like me. You're a dude from Carolina. I'm a guy from Kentucky,
Yeah.
How's it been valuable to have the community and have the program in your life?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I got the most out of like your training, the blueprint, and just giving me, because I'm an engineer, right? I have that engineering background. So I like structure. I like process. I like knowing, a path. And I really like that. I mean, for sure, your forums and the calls and things like that, they're definitely value. But I think the biggest value for me has been able to go back and say, okay, like 21 things you need to do when you build a sales page, right? Just to some of the real tactical things that I can take and implement. Okay, here's how I can apply this to the Lion and do the work that, I feel like God's called me to do. So, that's been the biggest value for me. And plus your podcast, I'm a podcaster. You said, man, I've heard you say many times, I'm a podcaster. I mean, so I just kind of identify with you. Plus, I think the Kentucky thing helps as well.
It always does. You know what's funny, man? This is a good tip for everybody building a community. The tendency is to build a community around our biases and likes, the things that we enjoy, which is really important because we need to enjoy being a part of our own communities we build, right? But Jocelyn and I have this thing, we call it loosely, I call it the 10% rule. So it's like, everybody always struggles with engagement, right? Like in their communities, like, people will buy stuff, maybe they won't log in or whatever, like the 80-20 rule, right? There's only 20% of the people that are vacuuming the church on Sunday afternoon, and that's how it works. Everything's 80-20. But like what I figured out was like, it is, but it's 80-20 based on like your personality. So like I look at it like 10 chunks of 10 different kind of people. Like, 10% of our people watch every video in the blueprint. They go into the blueprint. They love the structure of the blueprint. They're the engineers. They're the introverts, whatever, whoever they are. Maybe not introvert, but like there's a reason they're only in the course area. But then why did we create the forum? Because some people love the forum. They love to post and they love to talk to people there in that really text-based setting. Okay. Right. But then we figured out there's another 10% chunk that loves to lurk. They could care less about asking questions. They're getting all the value out of reading other people's questions and answers. Like it was unbelievable. We were like, why don't you post? And people wrote back in our surveys, like, I just like to lurk. That's just who I am. I want to lurk. Great. Then there's another 10% chunk that loves to come to, our community calls. Then there's another 10% chunk that only goes to the women's call or the men call because it's women's and men's calls, right? There's 10% of people never log into a course, but they come to every coaching call. And if we can build our memberships in that way, like think about it more like, don't think about it 80-20, well, only 20%. No. Who are these 10 to 20% of people and what do they like to do, and build that for them? Then add a layer. And all of a sudden you look up and you're like, everybody's using something, and people who use it don't quit. That's awesome. I'm having fun. You got any more questions? I have a feeling if we kept going, we could probably two podcasters with microphones is a dangerous idea for the clock. Okay. So, but is there anything else that's really like struggling with?
No, I mean, they've been the biggest things. I mean, I'm just trying to find the best way to serve others and trying to get the message out. So like I say, we're starting to do speaking engagements and talk about that because I think there's an element there that, as I can get in front of audiences and then bring them into what we do at the Lion.
Make sure you pass something around and give them a freebie to get every name and email in the audience.
That's what we were talking about. It's like, I was just talking with my colleague before we started this. I was like, we got this this one coming up. So I got 2 speeches done, ready, canned, PowerPoints, all the stuff. We got the swag we're going to take. I was like, bro, we cannot go there and not collect email addresses and try to push people to the community. Like, so we're trying to figure out the best way to do that.
Pass a clipboard and say, opt in, just like you would online, man. Say, hey, anyone who puts their name and email on, I'm going to give this free thing. Or be like, I'm going to give everybody this 20 of our Bible study scriptures that we recorded in the past. Yeah. Something like that. And just give them something you've already got, but get every name and email that you can. And also, too, for the future, I've seen memberships like yours. We have a lot of people in the community that run them, and they're usually very personality driven. Like they have a theme, like Lion Within. There's like, they're all similar. They're doing similar things. There's always a high ticket mastermind in every one of these I've seen, dude, of like $500 a month. There's always, those 10 guys that want to be meeting together in a mastermind setting every week at a deeper level, connecting on a deeper level, like true doing life together, not just being a part of a movement or a community. Yeah. I've got some great examples of these. Aaron Walker, this guy who hosts this amazing podcast called
I know Aaron.
Top. Yeah. He's got Iron Sharpens Iron. Like these, there's always a percentage of those people, man, that are like, dude, $500 a month. I'm going to become the best man, the best spouse. I'm not just getting better. I'm going to become the best husband. I'm going to become the best father. And like, these are guys that want to invest not only in themselves, but they want to know that the other people in the room have really good skin in the game and that they're committed to that. You can even charge it like annually, man. Like, 500 times 12 is what, 6,000, something like that. Like these high ticket masterminds with high value, they're facilitated probably by you or one of your top lieutenants, and it's legit accountability, legit doing life together. So right now, I think you should get the community's growing, let it grow. But then, you hit 200 members, you start getting some admin help, free you up.
Yeah.
Are there 10 people in there that would pay $500 a month? Probably. And that's when numbers can get really crazy for you.
Are we messing up though right now by having that 2 mastermind groups going? Because I just started that.
I would be very careful with what they do. I'll give you an example. This is totally not even in this space, but it's the same thing. All right. So I talk a lot on the podcast about this guy named Kenny Troiano. Okay. Kenny Troiano started teaching people how to raise backyard chickens, and he created this membership with hundreds of people in it. Okay. Well, he included one-on-one coaching and masterminds in it. And it totally overwhelmed him. It took up too much time. He couldn't do anything else. Couldn't make sense of everything. And I finally just told him, you cannot include one-on-one coaching and masterminds at a $50 a month level. That's not what that's for. That's a community-driven level, one to many. We're all together in different settings. There'll be smaller groups as you go through your calls and stuff. But as a testing ground, no, I think you leave them in it. And then you just do the same thing when you start those. Hey guys, you're on my first 2 groups. Listen, this is a lot of resources, a lot of time, and we're about to go deeper at this. So this is going to end up being $500 a month, but I'll let you guys in right now for $200 a month. You can make them you do the same thing you did with the freemium model, but you just give them a discount when they join. Some people won't, and they won't keep going, but they'll understand. You can't just do that forever for everybody. But getting your systems in place, no, do a couple of beta groups now, but maybe test charging for it, even $100 a month for those guys, just to give you a little more revenue so you can hire that admin as fast as possible. Dude, Chris, impressive, bro. Proud of you, man. Love you. I can't wait to see you grow and also to keep helping you in any way we can. I mean, we got some new content coming out. We're actually about to redo the blueprint. We're actually about to redo the whole thing from start to scratch. We've already audited it, but I want to re-record it. I've learned so much in the past, like since the pandemic, actually, about some different things, man. We all learned how to be better entrepreneurs. So I want to share a bunch of new lessons, put a bunch of new stuff out there. And bro, I can't wait to have you back on in a year and see what this thing turns into, man, because it's going to be absolutely awesome. Oh, and I got to tell one thing. The small world of the century. Chris gets on here today and he goes, I'm going to give a shout out. He goes, man, I got a guy that I know that's in my membership. And I said, who is he? And he says, it's a guy named Lonnie. He said he used to coach football with you. That guy was my middle school football coach back in the single digits of the 2000s at the high school I was the head coach at. Dude, that's the craziest. Isn't it funny how when all this happens, like we would have that small of a world that you would know Eric Wooten and Lonnie, and we'd be sitting here talking about that. Isn't that crazy?
It's nuts, man. It's nuts. I mean, I look now, our members, we have a member in Canada. We have them all over the West Coast, all the way down to Florida. And I'm just sitting there like, how is this possible? It's crazy how and Lonnie actually helped a member in Arizona find a church. It was a God's-filled, Spirit-filled moment in one of our calls. And this guy was in Arizona, was looking for a church. He's like, he was church hurt, right? And Lonnie's like, yeah, I know a pastor in your town. I'll make that phone call today. And it's just like, wow, boom, problem solved, right? So,
dude, and that's a selfish, not selfish. Well, selfish. Who cares? That's a selfish reason to put yourself out there too, man. Because the more you do it, the more good things happen. Like I tell this story at all my live events that I teach at. I was about to speak on the biggest stage I'd ever spoke on for the first time. Now, since then, I've like my biggest stage I spoke on was about 9,000 so far, right? But this one was about 2,400 people. It was in Tampa, Florida. I was doing this Christian event. It was called Life Surge. And I had got sucked into this. I did not know I was going to be on the big stage. I mean, I've always had goals to speak like that, but like it happened fast. And we were at sound check. And I was sitting there and I was, and I was going through my slides at sound check the night before the event. And I was so nervous, dude. It was the most nervous. I can't remember being that nervous before a football game. I can't remember being that nervous coaching football or I don't think I was that nervous when me and Jocelyn got married. I can't even think of a time I was more nervous. And I'm sitting there and I'm going through my slides, and on my slide deck, there's like 3 or 4 stories of people from our community, because I like to show that it's not just me, it's other people doing this stuff. And this guy named Paul was standing beside me. He was the sound check guy. He ran sound check, and he goes, "Hey man, I love that guy." And I just looked over at him and I'm like, "Who?" And he goes, "That guy on your slide. His name's Kevin Depew. I'm a member of his online membership, and he's teaching me how to play guitar." And I was like, and I had prayed, like, "God, is this what you want me to do?" Right. And I sat there and thought about it. I was like, here's a guy from Kentucky about to speak in Tampa, Florida. And a guy from Tampa, Florida was in a guy from Cincinnati, Ohio's membership who learned how to start that membership from Kentucky. And all that came together right there in that moment. Man, that's unbelievable, dude. It's crazy, man. So everybody just put yourself out there, put yourself in the right place at the right time, and you'll see good things happen. Chris, man, thanks so much. Hey, tell everybody out there, for anybody listening, especially the men in the audience who might want to check out your stuff, go ahead and tell everybody where your website is and where they can connect with you anywhere online.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one-stop shop, the lionwithin.us. So thelionwithin.us is our site. You can check out our podcast, Monday, Wednesday, Friday drops. And love to have you guys check it out. 30-day free trial. So you literally have nothing to lose. Hop in and see what you think about it.
All right, guys, that wraps up my interview with Chris Grainger. What an amazing member of the Flip Lifestyle community, man. He got in there and he found great success through the Flip Lifestyle Blueprint. If you'd like to learn more about everything we do, head over to fliplifestyle.com. We have a lot of live challenges. We got a lot of live webinars. We got a lot of free resources for you so that you can go out and you can get started with your online business just like Chris. And man, check out his website over at The Lion Within. He is really hustling. He is doing what it takes to get out there and change his family's future and build an incredible movement and a business that he loves, and helps all of his students as well.